course, it's really hard to avoid overheating the edges on a piece like this. Any non-round piece always going to overheat the edges. So hopefully I'll be able to get away with it. Okay, that's looking good. I think that was the correct choice. Still trying to close up that center. I had a larger hole than I like in the center of this thing. I usually like to have a smaller hole, but you know, it's the way it came out. And that's one thing the squeezer is good at, is filling up holes. So, one thing that I've found when using the NQALHA that, if anybody has watched my demonstration videos or my user guide videos or any of the time that I'm talking about the machine, it's a roller type machine and the glass can drift sideways, and it often does. But the biggest thing that you can do to reduce drift if you don't want to use lock collars is just run the machine slow. I've noticed there's a great difference between slow rotation and fast rotation. I was once letting a piece cool on the NQALHA and I kind of forgot about it and left it there overnight. Came back the next morning, no drift. It was running really, really, really slow. I've worked with other glassworkers while I've been showing them some basics and kind of giving them a brief introduction, and they tend to like to run it too fast. And then they complain about drift, and you know, I don't like drift either, but it's just a fact of physics. It is what it is. So yeah. Best way to minimize drift is to run slow and horizontal. The more vertical you get, the more force is being applied to the glass. The heavier the workpiece is, the more force is being applied along the axis, the more drift you're going to have. Use a paddle. Push in like this, you're going to get drift. Drift is manageable, either by technique or by using lock collars, but I've actually found that I almost never use lock collars. I can do the vast majority of the work I do and never touch one. Almost never necessary. So I'm getting very close here. It is just about time to put on the chrome suit, the face shield, the welding gloves, get ready to pull this pig. That I have my caliper prepared here. I'm using an old school dumb metal caliper that got nothing on it that's going to catch fire. Wouldn't want to use a digital caliper with a plastic case out in the hot shop. So I've got the target size I'm going to try to pull to is 1.1 inches. And I can see that I already have a bit of elongation here. Probably gained maybe 1/4 of an inch in the process of squeezing. And like I said before, when I first invented the squeezer, I thought it would be a useful tool for elongation. Really isn't. It'll do a little bit of elongation, but the best way to elongate a piece is with gravity. Gravity or a puller. So, focusing the flame on the flat sides. Standing on the squeezer with great vigor. And yes, the squeezer can handle it. It's designed for it. The early prototypes were a little on the wimpy side. So it is getting very close now. I'm going to suit up. Probably degrade the audio performance a little as Mr. Microphone gets covered, but hey, gotta do what you gotta do. Mr. Microphone to a more appropriate position here. Which of course is another nice thing about the NQALHA, that I can dick around with my chrome suit and my microphone and getting everything ready, and the machine is just doing the work for me, building my core heat. I'm going to be using TIG gloves when I really start getting hot. I don't like Kevlar gloves. I don't have the dexterity that I would like. So I think TIG gloves work really well for me. I think I'm going to give it one more squeeze. Going to give it a really, really nice soak. Stepping away from the heat zone for a moment, because for those who have never done pieces this big, the radiant heat coming off of that is brutal. And I know that the people who do big stuff will say, oh, come on, dude, you're a wimp, that's nothing. But if all you've ever done is small hollow work, big solid stuff is a whole different ballgame. So I've got a pre-made puller that sitting in the kiln ready to go. While I'm squeezing, I'm also building core heat. So every time I put it in the squeezer, I cool the surface, but the core heat from the flame remains, so I've been building core heat through this entire process, which makes it not quite ready for pulling when I'm done, but gives a really great head start as opposed to trying to pull just from dead cold. I want to make sure I get plenty of heat on my giant moil. Last squeeze, and it's going to be a good one. Full weight. So that ready for pulling. I got my pre-made puller moil here. Sitting in the kiln for all this time, so I'm not shocking it too bad by sticking it right into the mag flame. Also, for those that don't know, all of glass is not the same. Colored glass is very different from clear glass. Clear glass is softer and it heats faster. And every color is different. Some colors are what they call stiff. Other colors, the more transparent colors, are a lot softer. Another common technique using the NQALHA, do handwork in the front of the flame while keeping the piece hot in the back flame. So now just about time to put on those TIG gloves, I tell you. Get that end ripping hot. The piece I'm going to be sticking to, hot enough to stick, but not so hot that I start distorting the pattern when I press this guy into place. I'm not going to attempt to pull this on the NQALHA. I've thought about working on developing a technique of pulling on the NQALHA. I've also thought about pulling on the lathe, but at the moment, I kind of go with what I know. So, when doing a pull like this, I want to pull with as close to zero knuckle as I can get. And that means I want to get a lot of heat into the moils because they're constantly sucking the heat out. It's real easy when doing a pull to overheat the center. and get a couple of giant knuckles on either end and a strand of spaghetti in the middle. That's like the first beginner mistake that always gets made. To pull a super thin middle with giant fat knuckles. The knuckle is the kind of that's the word we use to describe the conical piece at the end. I'm starting to feel a little bit of looseness here. And that's kind of my signal to remove from the NQALHA and see if I can get this dude pulled by hand. Trying to control the weight. It's a heavy piece, it's not balanced, it tends to sag in the center. Trying to keep my hands parallel, which is really hard, and I suck at it. Trying to avoid twist. It's a very uncomfortable position. Nothing at all easy about this. But part of it makes it fun because it's not easy. If it was easy, I'd be bored by now. The pull starts out hard and then gets easier. Another part of the non-linear behavior of glass. Of course, right now I have let's check the oh boy, I got a good eyeball. That's like a perfect center dimension. Hit the target. Now I just need to work on the knuckles. Really hard to see the foot pedal. A little more fire here. Hard to see the foot pedal with the face shield on. The punties are getting hot. Get the heat mostly into the moil, knowing that even if I had the skill to do a perfect pull with no knuckle, the ends wouldn't be any good anyway. The glass is going to be kind of messed up in the ends anyway, so but I try to get as much as I can. Okay, I can feel it getting a little out of control. It's real easy to, when trying to heat the thick section, it's real super easy to overheat the thin section. Pulling fairly gently, trying to control twist. Get the face shield out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. A little more twist than I would have liked, but since it's going to be cut up into slices, the twist really isn't a killer. I just try to avoid it whenever possible. So that there is as good as it's going to get. I'm going to have to say I'm happy, or at least as happy as I'm going to get. To cut it off with the diamond shears and not having a really nice day. There we have it. Kind of sort of close enough. But once it gets cut up and made into a hexagon, it'll all be fine. All will be well. So I reuse my big moils. I'm just kind of cleaning up the cut end. And that will do it for today's glasswork. Thank you for watching. It's been fun.